They told me I was a match. Perfect match, the doctor said, smiling like he just handed me a gift. And I remember standing there in that hallway, still in my street clothes, feeling my husband's hand squeeze mine so tight it almost hurt, and thinking, this is it. This is the moment I save his life. I didn't know that the same hospital walls, holding that good news, were also hiding something that would break me in half. My name doesn't matter. What matters is what happened 3 hours before they were supposed to wheel me into that operating room. My husband, Daniel, had been sick for almost 2 years. Kidney failure. Slow, cruel, the kind of illness that steals a person one small piece at a time. First his energy, then his appetite, then the light in his eyes, the one that used to find me across a room and just settle there. By the end, he was a shadow of the man I married. Thin, tired, grateful for every single day like it might be his last. And when the doctors told us I was a donor match, I didn't even think twice. Of course I'll do it. Of course, he's my husband. He's my whole life. I remember the morning of the surgery so clearly. It still plays behind my eyes like a film I can't stop watching. The hospital gown scratchy against my skin. The fluorescent lights too bright, too white. Daniel in the bed beside mine, already prepped, his hand reaching for mine across the gap between our stretchers. "Hey," he whispered, voice cracking. "Thank you for everything. I don't deserve you." "Stop that," I said, blinking back tears. "You'd do the same for me." He smiled, that same smile I fell in love with 9 years ago, and for a second, just a second, everything felt right. Like maybe all the suffering, all the sleepless nights, all the fear, maybe it was leading us here, to this, to saving him. That's the thing about hope. It blinds you right before the fall. A nurse came in to check my vitals. Older woman, maybe 50, with tired eyes and a name tag that read PATRICIA. She didn't smile like the others. She moved careful, quiet, like she was walking on glass. I thought she was just having a rough shift. She checked my blood pressure, wrote something down. Then she leaned in close, so close I could smell the hand sanitizer on her skin, and she said something that didn't make any sense at all. "You need to trust me right now." I blinked at her. "What?" She didn't answer. She just glanced at the door, then back at me, and her hands were shaking, actually shaking, as she reached under the cart beside my bed and pulled out, of all things, a janitor's uniform. Gray scrubs, the kind cleaning staff wear. She shoved it into my arms so fast I almost dropped it. "Put this on," she whispered. "Under your gown, now, and when I come back you walk out with me like you belong here, like your staff. Do you understand?" What is this? Is something wrong with the surgery? Is it Daniel? Is he? "He's fine," she said too quickly, too carefully. "For now." Those 2 words, "for now," they landed in my chest like ice water. "You don't understand," I said, my voice climbing, panic rising in my throat like a wave I couldn't push back down. "I'm about to go into surgery. I'm donating my kidney to my husband. I can't just—" "That," she said, and her eyes finally met mine, full and steady, "is exactly why you need to leave." I stared at her. The room felt like it was tilting, the walls pressing in, my own heartbeat suddenly the loudest sound in the world. "You're lying," I whispered. "You have to be lying." She shook her head slowly, and then she said the sentence that I will never, ever forget. The sentence that split my whole life into a before and an after. "There is no kidney failure. There never was." I laughed. I actually laughed, this short, broken, disbelieving sound, because it was absurd, it was impossible. I had seen the scans. I had sat in the exam rooms. I had watched my husband grow pale and thin and sick for 2 years with my own eyes. "I've worked here 11 years, Patricia said, and her voice cracked now too, like she was carrying something heavy she'd held alone for too long. "I pulled your file an hour ago, just to double-check something before your prep, and I found records that don't belong to a dying man. I found records that belong to a healthy one." The machines around me kept beeping, steady, indifferent, like the world hadn't just cracked open at my feet. "You're wrong," I whispered. "You have to be wrong." She leaned in even closer, and her whisper was barely audible over the hum of the hospital around us. Your husband isn't in surgery today, honey. He's leaving the country tonight. And this surgery isn't to save his life. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. I just stared at her, at this stranger holding a janitor's uniform out to me like a lifeline, like the only rope thrown down into a well I didn't even know I'd fallen into. Then what is it for? I finally managed to whisper. Patricia's eyes filled with something that looked, horribly, like pity. It's for your kidney, she said. Just not the way you think. For a long moment, I couldn't move. I just sat there on that hospital bed, the janitor's uniform crushed in my lap, staring at a woman I had met 20 minutes ago like she was the only solid thing left in a world that had turned to water beneath me. Say that again, I whispered. Say it slower. Patricia knelt down so we were eye level, and when she spoke, her voice was low, urgent, like every second we spent talking was a second we didn't have. There's a broker, overseas. He pays for organs, desperate people, sick people who can't get on a transplant list fast enough or won't pass the screening. Your husband's file has been flagged for 2 years as a facilitator. Someone who finds donors, willing ones, family members who don't know they're being harvested for someone else's transplant, not their own husband's. That's not Daniel would never. My voice broke apart on his name. I've watched him get sicker. I've held him at 3 in the morning when the pain was so bad he couldn't breathe. You're telling me that was, what, a performance? I'm telling you, Patricia said, that the man on today's surgical schedule receiving a kidney is not your husband. His name is Marcus Feld. He flew in from overseas 4 days ago. Your husband's name isn't even on the recipient list anymore. It hasn't been for 6 months. The room tilted again, and this time I let it, because fighting it felt pointless. Everything I thought I knew was rearranging itself into a shape I didn't recognize, and somewhere underneath all of it was a single, quiet, devastating truth trying to surface. I had missed something. For 2 years, I had missed something right in front of me. Why are you helping me? I asked, because it was the only question that made any sense to ask. Patricia's jaw tightened. 11 years ago, my sister went in for a routine gallbladder surgery. She never came out the same. I don't know exactly what happened to her. I was never allowed to know, but I know it wasn't gallbladder surgery. I've spent every year since trying to make sure it never happens again in front of me without me doing something. She pressed the uniform into my hands again. I can't save everyone, but I can save you, right now, if you let me. I looked down at that gray fabric, at the plain, forgettable uniform of someone whose job was to be invisible in a building full of important people. And I understood, with a clarity that felt like drowning, that invisibility was exactly what I needed to survive the next 10 minutes. I put it on with shaking hands, right there over my hospital gown, my fingers fumbling the buttons twice before Patricia reached over and finished them for me, quick, practiced, like she'd done this before and hoped never to again. Head down, she murmured, pulling a cap over my hair. Eyes on the floor, you push a cart, you don't make eye contact, you don't run. Running is how they catch you. What about Daniel? I asked. And even now, even after everything, some small, stupid part of me still wanted to know if he was okay, still wanted to protect him, because 9 years of loving someone doesn't just switch off in a single sentence. Patricia's face didn't soften. Your husband made his choice a long time ago. Right now, you need to make yours. I don't remember standing. I don't remember my legs carrying me off that bed. I only remember the cart Patricia wheeled beside me, stacked with folded linens, and the way she said, without looking at me, "Push this. Walk like you've done it 1,000 times. We're going to the east stairwell, not the elevator. Cameras are slower to update there." We walked. God, we walked, past nurses, past a man wheeling an IV pole, past a woman on the phone laughing about something ordinary, some ordinary Tuesday conversation happening in a world where nobody else knew that mine had just ended. I kept my eyes down. I kept pushing that cart. My heart was slamming so hard against my ribs I thought surely someone would hear it, surely someone would look up and know, but nobody did. Nobody ever really looks at the person pushing the cart. We reached the stairwell. Patricia grabbed my arm, and for the first time since she'd walked into my room, her composure cracked. "Once you're out that door," she said, "you cannot come back. Not for clothes, not for your car if it's in the main lot, not for anything. There's a bus stop 2 blocks east. Take it anywhere. Call someone you trust from a payphone, not your cell, and don't go home. How do I know you're not part of it? The words came out before I could stop them, raw and shaking. How do I know this isn't just another version of the same lie? Patricia looked at me for a long moment, and something in her eyes, some old, tired grief, made me believe her more than any explanation could have. You don't, she said quietly. You just have to decide if you'd rather be wrong twice or dead once. I walked out of that hospital in a stranger's uniform, past a security guard who didn't even glance up from his phone, into a parking lot bathed in ordinary afternoon sunlight, and I have never in my life felt so far away from ordinary. I didn't go to the bus stop first. I went to a payphone outside a gas station, my hands still trembling, and I called my sister, Colette, my voice breaking apart the second she answered. Something happened, I said. Something happened and I need you to come get me, and I need you to not ask questions yet, please just come. She came. God bless her. She came within 20 minutes, and when I collapsed into the passenger seat of her car, still wearing a janitor's uniform over a hospital gown, she didn't ask a single question. She just drove. It took 3 days for the full truth to surface. 3 days of police reports, of investigators, of a woman named Detective Ruiz sitting across from me with a folder full of documents that confirmed everything Patricia had said and worse. Years of falsified medical records. A network stretching across 2 hospitals. Daniel's real bank accounts showing wire transfers I never knew existed. Deposits that arrived every time a new match was found. He wasn't sick. He had never been sick. Every appointment, every diagnosis, every trembling hand and pale face had been performance, built slowly, patiently, over 2 years, because a man who is loved enough will find a wife willing to give up a piece of herself to save him. And once she's on that table, unconscious, unable to ask questions, nobody checks whose blood type actually gets used. They caught him at the airport. I didn't go. I couldn't make myself watch him in handcuffs, not because I still loved him, but because some wounds you don't need to see reopened to know they're real. Patricia visited me once, after everything settled, in a small coffee shop far from that hospital. We didn't say much. We didn't need to. She just held my hand across the table for a moment, the same way she had held that uniform out to me on the worst day of my life, and she said, "You made it out." "Because of you," I said. "Because you listened," she corrected gently. "Most people don't. Most people trust the man they love more than the stranger telling them the truth." I think about that a lot, even now. About how close I came to waking up from that surgery with one less kidney, and a lifetime of not understanding why my husband's face didn't look quite right when he thanked me. About how love, real or performed, can make you blind to almost anything. Except, if you're lucky, one small voice in a hospital hallway, brave enough to hand you a way out. I kept that janitor's uniform, folded in the back of my closet. Not as a souvenir. As a reminder that sometimes the people who save your life don't wear white coats or wedding rings. Sometimes they wear gray scrubs, and they whisper 4 words that change everything. Wear this and run.